This video response is going to go out to BASSFZZ, and that's because you uploaded a video series entitled The Double Standards of Having Standards. And this particular video response is a response to part 3 of that video series. And I would like to say, I'd like to start this video by saying that I have already watched the first 2 responses you gave to the first 2 responses that I've gave to that video series, and I will cover that later on in this video. Okay, and the second thing I would like to say is that I would like to apologize for taking so long to upload this video. I have no idea at this point how many videos you have watched of mine ever since you made that second response to me. However, shortly after I made my second response to you, my computer started going on the fritz. And when that happened, I had a great big nightmare. I've actually had to use another computer to upload videos to YouTube because mine was on the fritz. Most of my computer is fixed now and it's running smoothly, and we shouldn't have too many more problems after this. So hopefully it won't take me too much longer to make video responses to you on this particular video series. Okay, having gotten that out of the way, I would also like to say that I already stated in my first response to you that I have over 800 people subscribed to me. Most of those people are facing eviction, starvation, and bullyism, and I try to focus on them rather than focusing on what I consider to be trivial matters like this. But I'm not going to ignore you, and I haven't been ignoring you. As a matter of fact, I spent a day and a half creating this response to you. So I am definitely not ignoring you. I just want to concentrate on them right now because they're in a far more critical situation right now than it looks like you are. You don't look like you're in that you may not be in the best of times, but I don't think you're that far down. I know that some of the people that are subscribed to me right now, they really are. Some of them are actually watching me in libraries because they can no longer afford to have a computer or even electricity to run one. There you go. Whew. All right. Now then, the next thing I would like to say is that I do appreciate the fact that you are refraining from using expletives in video responses to me. And I know in the beginning of your first response to me you said that you did not know what an expletive was. You later figured that one out, and that's great, that's wonderful. One of the things I'm trying to teach my students is that if you are trying to seek higher paying gainful employment or trying to maintain a relationship, it is best to refrain from using expletives because it will wreck your expletives will wreck your chances of obtaining higher paying gainful employment or maintaining a decent relationship, whether it be a friendship or even romance. And I know that Dan Brown, the one that runs PogoBat, he disagrees with me. Too bad, so sad. The fact of the matter is, I've got the facts, and they prove me correct. So, too bad for him. Anyway. And so far, I've been doing pretty good on my responses to you on this topic without using expletives. And I'm going to continue doing so. Alright. Now then. The first person that you profiled on the third part of your video series was Kendall Ray. Okay? And one of the things she was trying to point out is that she was very miffed about how this kid, and this apparently 16-year-old kid in this video, was demanding people to demanding women to entertain him, or women to entertain any guy, to be that frank. Okay? And I'm looking at this kid's response. I think his name is Nick or something. I don't know. It's been too long since I watched the original video, but anyway, he pointed out several things like the lady had to be entertaining and funny and having a personality. And although he does mention starting a conversation, the main point he was trying to make in his video was that the lady was supposed to entertain him. Okay, this had nothing to do with conversation. If he really specifically meant for women to give decent conversation to guys, he would have specifically said, hey, specifically, it's not that I want you to entertain me like a circus clown. What I want you to do is give me pleasant conversation. If he meant pleasant conversation, all he had to say was pleasant conversation. He did not have to say the words entertain me. Okay? If that's what he really meant, he would never have said entertain me. He would never have emphasized entertaining, funny, personality. He would have never emphasized that. If he meant conversation, all he had to do was say conversation. Period. He did not have to go into entertaining anybody. Okay? And I truly believe, and I stand by this, that if men start decent conversations, women will participate in these kind of things. And if men offer something entertaining to do, like a board game or playing video games, or, and I could go on and on. I mean, you know, you take a trip, or you get out your skateboards, or you take them to the movies, something like that. I guarantee you the women will want to participate in stuff like that. It's a guarantee. Women like to do things. Well, if the man proposes things for them to do, that's what they'll do, most likely. Unless, of course, it's like, I don't think women enjoy origami too much, or I don't think they'd want to go out to eat calamari or something like that. But I mean, some women do, but a lot of them don't. I know that. Anyway, we can go on and on with this. I'm not going to do that. Okay? Now, I wonder how this kid in this video defined funny. The thing is, when it comes to people, either they are funny or they're not funny. And it depends on what this kid is defining as funny as to what we're supposed to get out of this. He never specifically explains what funny is to him, what he expects of these women. He never goes into a detailed account of what he expects from these women. I watched that whole thing, and I'm telling you, he did not give any specifics of what he wanted these women to do, which I found major fault in. Okay? So, and he also never specifies what kind of a personality these women are supposed to have. Okay? Are they supposed to have a modest personality, or are they supposed to be outgoing? He never specifies any of this. It'd be a lot easier to critique him if we knew how he defined things. He doesn't define them very well. Actually, he doesn't define them at all in his video. And yes, when I was that age, I could very easily define what I actually meant. I might struggle with it for a couple of seconds, but I would very easily define it. I'd make it real crystal clear as to what I wanted. Let me tell you something. If I wanted a certain kind of orange juice, I would say, hey, I want X and Y orange juice. I would not stand there and say, I just want a glass of orange juice. It wouldn't be like that. If I wanted something without pulp, I'd say, I don't want an orange juice with pulp. There you go. Okay. And why should ladies have to start a conversation in the first place? Are men so stupid that they can't start a decent conversation? And yes, these kids sitting on this couch, well, no, there's no couch here, but I mean, they were sitting on their couch, okay? Their very words betrayed them. Okay? They said, entertain me. Simple as that. There was no, give me an enlightening conversation, give me an entertaining conversation. If they meant entertaining conversation, they should have said, entertaining conversation. That would have been a little different than entertain me. These adolescent dorks, as far as I'm concerned. They're really dorks. These adolescent dorks were saying, "Entertain me." That's what they meant. There is nothing in that presentation that would indicate that they meant anything other than to entertain them. And just because they say start a conversation, they did not give a really good clerical answer as to what they meant by entertaining. If they wanted to be more specific, they certainly could have been. But they weren't. It's that simple. And you'd be hard-pressed to prove that to me in that video. Like to see you try. Okay? As a matter of fact, I can safely say that if a 6-year-old was watching that video of theirs, while those kids are sitting on the couch saying the things that they were saying, I guarantee you a 6-year-old would have figured out what they were trying to say. And it wasn't an entertaining conversation. I guarantee it. Okay? Now, I went word by word about the hiking and the surfing comment. You remember the hiking and surfing comment? What he said is what he meant. Hey, let's go surfing while we go hiking. That's stupid. Okay? You either go surfing or you go hiking. You don't do both at the same time. Kendall Ray, I think that was her name. Yeah, Kendall Ray was correct on that statement. Nowhere did it indicate that they had a time separation between the hiking and the surfing. Go ahead, prove that to me. Prove to me that they didn't mean for those two events to happen at the same time. You'd be hard-pressed to do it. But I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to see if you could actually prove conclusively that they meant two separate time periods. As far as I could tell, going word for word for word, that's not what they meant. They wanted to do surfing and hiking at the same time. And if they meant that, they should have clarified that in their video. It's that simple. Don't tell me these kids don't know English. I've seen Common Core. Sure, it's a mess, but it is enlightening if you really work at it. And these kids definitely know English enough to know how to work with that. If they meant what you thought they meant, they should have been far more clerical in their video. Simple as that. They just simply weren't thinking about their presentation when they made it. Well, I'm telling you what, I'm thinking about it right now. And what I'm thinking about, what they were thinking about, is two different things. And don't tell me that they were too young to think about things like this, because I was their age once, and I thought that way. I used to read full-scale computer magazines. That's right. I had subscriptions to computer magazines when I was 16 years old, so don't tell me they weren't capable of doing that. Shoot, I bet they could build cars, or at least houses or something. So don't give me this that they're uneducated. Horse pucky. It's a bunch of horse pucky. Now, take horse pucky from anybody. These are well-educated kids, and they knew exactly how to make a presentation. They were just lazy. That's all they were. Period. Okay? So what Kendall Ray said was dead on. She was spot on correct. Period. So I asked the same question as she did. How can you go hiking and surfing at the same time? It doesn't work that way. And then they go on with their statement about how they were going to date a rich guy. Okay? And I'm looking at the statement right here. Now, I will say this. I will say this about that statement. Basic cheerleading requires little talent whatsoever. That's a fact. I've seen kids as young as 12, 13 years old pull off a pretty good set of cheerleading stunts without any formal education. Now, however, if they took dance class to go along with the basic cheerleading, that does require skill. I'll give you that. I have seen 12 and 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds, because remember, I used to be in high school. Okay? And many of my classmates went to a dance class in addition to cheerleading. As a matter of fact, I have a friend of mine, her daughter is taking dance classes to go along with cheerleading. And I can tell you right now, that's tough. The dance class that goes along with cheerleading is tough. Basic cheerleading is not tough at all. But dance class that goes along with cheerleading, that is tough. I will give you that. Okay, that requires a lot of acrobatic skills that some people just are not cut out for that. And that's a fact. Okay? Okay? And this lady's argument is, who are they? I mean, these three kids on the couch speaking their spiel all over the place. Who are they to define? And I hate to bring this up because I hate to use this kind of terminology on a video like this, but since they brought it up, like I said, I don't like to go down to their level, but unfortunately, to make this case successful, to really put this in perspective, they literally said that these ladies that were whatever, they were whores. Who are they to decide which lady's a whore and which lady isn't? Who are they to say that? They're not clinical psychologists. They're not sociologists. They don't have any college degrees at all. So they are not qualified to make such statements. I mean, it's not like that they've dated hundreds of women and they have come up with some statistical analysis that says, hey, these people are whores. They haven't done that. They haven't done any homework on the subject. So they are certainly not qualified to say anything like that. It was disgusting that they did. And this lady, this Kendall Ray, is spot on in pointing that out. It's that simple. Another one of Kendall Ray's arguments is, how do they assess how loud or quiet a lady should be? Again, are they sociologists, psychologists? Have they dated hundreds of women and come up with some statistical analysis? Of course not. These kids are flakes. And I see them as what they are. They're total flakes. So until these kids get some kind of expertise, I dismiss all their arguments. Their presentation was pathetic. And they're too smart to do stuff like this. Don't give me this how dumb they were. They were smart. They should have known better than do what they did. Okay? Okay, again, she was establishing a point that none of these kids sitting on that couch, and as far as I'm concerned, no matter how old they are, they were kids. That's how they were acting, period. But none of them had a degree in cosmetology. They had no expertise in makeup or hairdos whatsoever. They weren't hairstylists. They weren't fashion consultants. They had no degree in cosmetology. Who are they to say what is too much or too little makeup? They're not qualified. They should be ashamed of themselves for even bringing that up. Okay. Now you say, well, they were saying that tall ladies were okay. Well, they never said which tall ladies are hot or what makes them hot. He never specified any of that. There goes his little argument. If he's wanting to say how tall ladies are hot, he needs to say ladies of a height of 6'1" or 6'3", they're hot too. And the reason why they're hot is because of this. He should have said that in his video. He didn't. And don't give me that he wasn't old enough to do that. That's a lie. That's an absolute lie. If he wanted to say that, he should have done it. He should have been very clerical about it. I would have done it myself at 16. So give me that garbage. These kids were educated enough to make a better presentation than what they did. Period. So. Then you shift over to another lady, and I tried to look up her video, and I couldn't find it, so I don't know her name. But what this second lady was saying in her presentation, the thing is, she isn't a hypocrite because she didn't say that she was declaring what all ladies like in men. She had standards, sure, but she's not defining standards for every single lady. She's not saying all ladies like this, all ladies like that. The very title of the video that these three adolescent boys made betray them. What guys look for in girls. That's not what she said in her video. I guarantee if we looked at the title of her video, it would not say that. And she never formally mentioned in any of her presentation that she was saying that all ladies like this and all ladies like that and all ladies like this. She had certain preferences, sure. Other ladies have different preferences. And she acknowledged that. She made a far better presentation in her video than these three idiots sitting on that couch. It's that simple. Okay? Alright. Then she goes in again with this argument about video games, and I've stated this before, and I'm absolutely correct on this. Let me ask you a question. Are you afraid of a challenge? Don't you want to strive harder to be the best video game player you can be? This lady was absolutely correct. These three idiots sitting on that couch, well, for lack of better terms, she had a perfectly good point in saying that these guys were basically sexist. That was a very sexist thing to say to these people. There is nothing wrong with a lady being better at a video game than you. That just makes you work harder to be the best video game player you can be. I have ladies that I know in my life that are better at some things than I am. I'm not ashamed of that. This makes me strive harder to be better at the things that I'm better at. So, are you ashamed or afraid that there are ladies out there better in video games than you? Well, you're not going to have a relationship with a lady because she happens to be better at video games than you? You're cheating yourself. And any guy that thinks that way is cheating himself. It's that simple. Okay. Now, what this lady was referring to in her video was natural hair color, freckles, dimples. These are the kinds of things that you cannot change on a human body without major and costly cosmetic surgery. And these kids were judging these women for things that they have literally no control over unless they have major cosmetic surgery. It's that simple. Her point was dead on. Okay? And let me tell you something. After watching this video myself, and obviously all these ladies watched this video, that's why they made all these responses to it, what lady in her right mind would date any of these three guys after watching their presentation? They're going to be lucky to have dates after this. I wonder how their dating life is like now. I bet it's pretty pathetic. If not, I'm terribly shocked. Either that or the ladies they're dating have no idea they've made this video. And they've not watched it. They should. Okay? I wonder if these guys actually went to the effort of loading up on YouTube a retraction video for everything they said in this awful presentation. They should. I know if I had done something like that, I certainly would upload a retraction video. I guarantee you I would. Not that I would do any good, but still I would do it. But then again, I wouldn't make a video like this in the first place. The problem with their video, The problem with the video that these guys, these three guys sitting on that couch uploaded, is that other guys will watch this and think to themselves that they've got to have all these expectations about these women that they're trying to date. And if they get that in their thick skulls, it's going to ruin their social lives. Well, I got a message for these guys, and hang on just a second. That's right, I have a message for any guy who watched these three teenagers on that stupid couch. Those three teenagers do not represent you. They do not represent me. They don't represent anybody else. They just represent themselves. And unfortunately, they do a very poor job of representing themselves. Period. And I hope that any guy that watches this video that they have made, you know, the video these three guys made, I hope they disregard it as the trash that it is. It's just nothing but a pure piece of garbage. And it got them a lot of ratings because they're popular. That's disgusting. Alright. Is it really reasonable to expect ladies to entertain you? Well, I don't think so. I've already stated that previously in this video. Is it really reasonable to say that all men prefer brunettes, or that all men prefer their ladies without a single ounce of body hair? Let me tell you something. I like blondes just as much as I like brunettes. These kids don't speak for me. Period. And unless the body hair is so completely out of control that they look like Bigfoot, I'm not that bothered by it. I mean, granted, like I said, if they look like a Sasquatch, that could be a bit of a problem. But otherwise, it's not that big of a deal. And that could be discussed and compromised in a calm, rational way. You don't have to insult the ladies. If you're a little bit disturbed by some of their body hair, you can discuss it with them. And you can come to some kind of a mutual agreement. Because ladies don't want to offend you. They want to be themselves, but they don't want to offend you. That's what relationships are. There are compromises. So there you go. This lady was right on the money. Her problem was that these guys were declaring the expectations of all men, not their personal expectations. That's the difference. The title of these kids' video said it all. What guys look for in girls, not what these kids look for in girls. Period. And I don't think they should have called them girls anyway. They should have called them young ladies, because that's what they are. Okay? Girls go to preschool. Young ladies go on dates. Period. Okay. And this lady was not making up the fact that they were creating a video rule book. It's that simple. That's exactly what they were doing. Just look at the title of their video. I agree with her statement about the lowering of self-esteem. Now these ladies will think that they have to meet these expectations of this video in order to get a date. And that's absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, you've not met a lot of ladies with low self-esteem. I have. So let me tell you something. A lady with an already bad self-esteem watching that video would probably lower her self-esteem about 20 points, unless she was really smart. So there you go. Alright. Let me tell you something. I hold these guys to a higher standard because of how popular they are and how much they have an influence on both young men and young ladies. I would do the same thing to Donald Trump, to Miley Cyrus, and to Bill Gates. And that's because they have a direct influence on other people. So I highly disagree with you on that too. Now, this lady was not in any position to teach her sister how to deal with bullies. That's the parent's job. And you did later on in the video correct yourself on that, and I have to give that one to you. Kudos to you for saying that. But it is not this lady's job to correct her sister on how to deal with bullies. It is the parent's job. And it doesn't sound like the parents are doing too good of a job. And they need to. Now, if the older sister wants to go to the parents and say, look, my sister's being bullied and this needs to be dealt with, that's one thing. But it is the parent's job to educate that kid, not the sister's job. Period. Okay. And here's another thing. Who are you to tell this lady what she should do or not do with this sister of hers? I mean, do you know their exact situation? All you know is what this lady said in the video. You don't know the whole thing. You don't know the whole story. So how would you know what to tell this lady in the first place? You wouldn't. Until you can assess the exact situation, you shouldn't be telling people what to do. I don't do that. Alright, let's move on to Ashley Mardell. Now, this is where we're going to have some agreement. Okay? First of all, in the 20th century, technology was introduced to fertilize ladies without heterosexual sex. That's a fact. It's called in vitro fertilization. Have you ever heard of it? Judging by what you said in part 3 of your video series, I wasn't so sure. I guess you'll have to look that up yourself now. But anyway, they do have in vitro fertilization, and they have been running experiments with test tube babies. So, before you make a blanketed statement like you did in your video, you might want to go back and check your facts. Okay. However, I will say that you do have a point. What does alternative lifestyles have to do with a truly sexist video like what these 3 kids on this couch produced? I'd like to know. That doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't know why that Ashley Mardell brought this up. It was silly and stupid. Okay. Alrighty. First of all, I was unaware that you were waiting for me to conclude my video series before you made any responses to me, and I do apologize for that. And whenever I do get another opportunity to sit for another day and a half and make another presentation, I will go ahead with part 4 of my critique of your video series. Just hang on tight because it's all coming. Trust me. Okay? Right now I will cover your video responses to me. I noticed that the title of your video response to me was slightly in error. This was the very first one to me. It said speed runner instead of speed learner, but that's okay. I'm sure eventually you'll change that, and that's fine. You did finally get it right on the second one, so there you go. I do appreciate the fact that you quickly corrected yourself, and I appreciate that you made the video responses to me. So, and they were pretty intellectual responses too, I have to say. A lot of the stuff I disagree with, but still, you presented your case pretty well. I just didn't agree with a lot of stuff. You did a far better job in your presentation than these 3 kids did on their couch. Enough said. Okay. I was kind of amazed that you watched one of my videos and decided to send a video response to me without taking the time to check out my channel. That really shocked me. Okay, I can finally see why you categorized me, because you just didn't know enough about me to realize that I'm not like Mr. Repsion or any of these ladies or any of these other guys that responded. I'm not like any of them. In the future, you might want to take a look at people's channels before making a direct video response to them, as you might find that they're a little more than what you think. Okay. Now, what about my statement about the Urban Dictionary? Well, if I had been making a presentation like you did, instead of saying the word white knight, which, by the way, is in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, I found that out. You can look this up online if you like. Not in the older dictionaries, but the more updated dictionaries, it is in there. You could have used a literary reference like knight in shining armor. That is a far more clerical statement and would have strengthened your case. I'd have been more likely to have listened to you if you'd have used knight in shining armor than white knight. Far more clerical. Okay. When I referred to myself being human, I was referring to myself being vulnerable and imperfect. Ladies like it when you're vulnerable and imperfect. That means you don't have this chauvinistic attitude. They like that. And that's something that I have. I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form. I take stands as I need to take them, and I don't take stands when I don't. This one I needed to take. Alright. Ladies are not... They'll tell you how much they like guys to be macho, but when you get right down to it, they do tend to like it when the guys let their guard down once in a while. It's just true. Oh, it's Nash. Okay, I finally got his name on here. Yes, it's Nash Greer we've been talking about here. I'm sorry, it's been a long time since I've done this, but it was Nash Greer in his video. When I was Nash's age, I was concerned about my career. I was concerned about my health. I was concerned about a lot of things. Why these kids were not concerned about any of this, I don't know. In this economy, they really need to be. I mean, with affordable health care, what more do I need to say? They need to really be thinking about things like this. Had I been in a relationship at that time, and back then I was not in the best of health, I certainly wasn't the richest kid in school, and I was being bullied on a regular basis, so it was really difficult for me to have a relationship at that time. But had I been in a relationship, I guarantee you, I would have been worried about the career goals of my lady. I also would have been very worried about her health. So that's nonsense what you said. Absolute nonsense. Okay? I will not excuse Nash Greer's shallow behavior because of his age. I guarantee you he's smart enough to understand all this. He's smart enough to comprehend all this stuff. He was just being very disrespectful in his video. That's all there is to that. Okay? And I have met many ladies who have a very low self-esteem. I've met lots of ladies who have had a low self-esteem. And I can tell you that when you have statements that Nash Greer and his friends were making on that couch, those statements do hurt those ladies. There is no question about it. I've seen this happen before. So Nash Greer and his lovely friends were being very irresponsible in their video. It's that simple. Okay. So, in your response to me, are you implying that there is no man in the world that finds a feminist attractive? I would say that's a little bit of an overstatement. perhaps this lady who was giving remember the lady that was doing the poem thing? Perhaps she was not only referring to herself, but also some of her friends as she was reciting this poem. You know, just because you make a poem about yourself doesn't mean that you can't include references of your friends in the same poem. Maybe she was referring to both herself and her friends. I would have to watch the whole thing all over again just to see if she was specifically referring just to herself, or if she was making inferences to her friends and herself at the same time. Just because the primary focus of her poem was to herself doesn't mean that there weren't references to her friends as well. There very well could have been. The only way we'd know for sure is to ask her directly. And you are more than welcome to do that. Okay? Now, as you are well aware, as you should be by now, I have over 3,600 videos on my YouTube channel. I'd like for you to find just one of those that specifies my particular preferences as women. Go ahead, try to find one video in my entire video entourage that makes blanketed statements about women. It just doesn't happen. Not on my channel. And when I said that the guy should initiate the entertainment, I listened to myself very carefully. Ladies like it when you initiate entertainment in a relationship. It takes the pressure off of them. And that's a fact. Whew. Wow. What a response. I know you're eagerly awaiting for me to respond to part 4, and even after I do that, I will be responding to more of your videos because, well, you have some interesting things to say. I don't agree with a lot of them, but you do have some interesting things to say, and I really would like to continue my responses to you. I'd like to see what you have to say next. Anyway, that pretty much ends this presentation. Obviously, you're watching these, and I'm presuming that you'll make a response to this. That'll be very interesting to see. Well, I don't have anything more to say tonight. When I do part 4, it'll probably take me about a day and a half to make the whole presentation, so I will get there. Just give me time. Now that my computer's back together and everything's back to normal, it shouldn't be... Well, do keep in mind that last year I was dealing with retail Christmas, and that gets to be a little hard on me too. I do work in retail, unfortunately. But anyway, that's all I've got for tonight. I will tell you more in a future video, so I want you to stay tuned.